Coffee's ready if you'll have some. And breakfast should be finished soon. The paper called for sun tomorrow. It looks like rain the whole day through. Morning left us both defeated. The mailman left another bill. The hallway closet's overflowing with all those shoes to be filled. So what's that song you used to sing me? What's that dance we used to do? Is this house quiet or just empty? Do you hear the silence as loud as I do?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's raining, y'all.
Yuck. But it's been a while, honestly, since it's rained.
Yeah,
so,
we could use a little bit. Little bit.
Yeah, as long as it's not turning everything into a mud mess,
Yeah.
I'll be alright with it, because still got some work to do, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing it in the rain.
No. But had a nice breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
I figured I hadn't done a B-roll breakfast here in a hot minute, so figured I would get that done, and not really sure what the day's gonna hold. We can't work outside. It's clearly raining. Not honestly sure. I mean, I want to be productive. I want to do something. Part of me was like, should we drive up into West Plains? Because I haven't looked, but I'm due for making some more sausage. Freezer's getting a little bit sparse, but we don't like going on Mondays because the Restore is not. Is it the Restore is not open on Monday, or which one's not open on Monday?
I don't remember.
I'd have to look.
Yeah,
but
we'd have to look at it and see. I don't know. It might be worth the drive just to free truck wash.
Yeah, I don't know. I got some matrix stuff to work on, but short of that, I don't really know. I mean, we've been working so hard that it just feels wrong to sit still for a day, even if it is because of the rain. I'm like,
Yeah.
what can I do inside? And I have some domestics to do. Laundry, there's a little bit of laundry to do, but that's not going to take me all day. And then I thought maybe, just maybe, I would trial that whole, some people say they bake bread. I've just never baked bread when it's raining. Run an experiment. Can I pull it off? Can I not? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we were really close yesterday, honestly. Like, I was at the point where it was like, yeah, chores, couch, that's what we're gonna do. And
I cracked that whip, didn't I?
we didn't, and I'm glad we didn't. Because I looked at the weather, and that's a lot of times, I mean, we've said it 100 times, guys. The weather drives what we're doing and how we're feeling and all that kind of stuff. And when I looked at the weather, knew that it's supposed to be raining and storming all day today, that it was like, okay, no,
We need to
just
work.
push through. And yesterday was a really good day. I mean, it was beautiful out. It started out cool,
Yeah, it warmed up a little bit.
but then
and-
it warmed up to where we were in t-shirts,
Yeah.
by the afternoon, and got a lot done. Oh man, I can't wait till y'all see. Well,
We didn't film a lot of it.
yeah, so just thinking about it, we didn't even film it, but you're gonna see what
How we got started with
what had happened was.
Yeah.
You're gonna see it because it was amazing.
I'm always crossed about like filming every single time we're on the sawmill because I mean some people love it, other people's are like, oh gosh, we've already seen this a gazillion times. So I kind of try to do a little bit of mix, but it wasn't just a milling day. We logged this big log, or milled this big log. He even had to take a chainsaw to it a little bit just to get it to fit, to go through. But what we got out of that one log was beautiful. 12-inch planks.
It started out as a 12 by 10.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure.
It was either 12 by 12 or 12 by 10, something like that. But the widest part was dead on, kind of on accident, but just getting it to a square can't, but it was definitely 12 inches wide, and it was 10 or 11 inches, tall. So we got a lot of 12-inch wide boards.
For the board and batten on the YouTube studio.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly we needed 2x4. We need 2x4s first, right? But man, when we could have made this log into 2x4s, but what a shame it would have been.
Yeah, and knowing that we want to do the board and batten siding on it. We did the fake stuff here on the house, but that was a time and let's just get it done. And we want the studio done, but we
don't want to spend any more money.
Yeah, we're
than we
trying
have
to hold true to our original testament of milling all of the lumber for the studio.
Yeah.
We've made
Within
one
reason.
exception.
Yeah.
And, there might be a couple more that come up for that. But this will be, I think the whole studio all said and done, all the wood that's in it, I could probably say 95% of it is all going to be milled. Which isn't bad. I mean, that's a lot of savings. I mean, just the money we've saved in milling the subfloor frame is probably,
It'll be exciting because I am going to do a cost comparison when we're done with YouTube Studio on how much we actually spent. And I've been watching Marketplace mostly, but even some retail places on that size building and how much it costs. Because I know that just this one building alone, we're going to be saving way more than
I
what
wish
the
I knew where
mill
that
even
sheet
costs.
was. Like when we looked at a couple sheds. If you guys remember back, it was probably before we restarted up on this channel, but we were actually gonna just buy one of those sheds and do a shed to house or shed to office cabin conversion for just out of pure simplicity and the speed of it, like to have a ready-made building,
because we would have already been merchant, we would have been
put up there,
YouTubing it.
we could have been in there, had that space available already, and but even buying those, and we've had discussions amongst quite a few of our friends about that, was why would we understand people that do buy them, and actually we've been in talks with Jake and Jenna
for them
about them doing shed to home conversions, because it's a much more viable option for them in their current situation, where they're young and they know they've got to work anyways, they have bills to pay, and so why not in this situation, hey, buy this shed, we'll try to help provide the lumber, more so the tools and labor for them to convert it. But then all the materials, all the stuff that would go into it would be on their own. So, and a lot of it is that ownership. It takes me back to, when I was a teenager, and it was, hey, you're not gonna drive. You're coming up on 16. Guess what? We're not buying you a car. Like, my parents didn't have that kind of money to be like, oh, let me buy you a car for your 16th birthday. That's what happens in Hollywood. And which I was fine with, because it was pointed out to me, especially after, like, I bought my first truck for $500, and it was from a friend I went to school with, and this thing, we called it the clown mobile, because his rust prevention technique was just, it was impressive. He would go in his dad's shop, he would see a little piece of rust, he would take some tape and tape off the good spot, and then whatever can of spray paint he pulled off the shelf is what that rust spot got covered with and treated. And so this truck was probably 8 or 9 different colors when I got it, and they were all like, it was triangles and like just weird odd shapes. And first thing I did was I got all one color of spray paint and painted
Still a
it.
rattle can, but all one color. Can you just hear the rain?
But I went to the school parking lot, and they're like, all right, pick out the vehicles in the student section, which ones mom and dad bought and which ones the kid actually bought. Significant difference. The mom and dad vehicles are typically a lot nicer, a lot newer. But then the kids drove them like a-holes. Like they beat on it because they had no ownership. And so, as aggravating as it was at first, just for that whole like, well, wait a minute, everybody at 16 gets a car bought for them. Why do I have to buy my own? But then I'd realize, like, that really was a big trigger that started pride and ownership. And that was something that it was reiterated in the Marine Corps, but then I pushed it a lot to my Marines, my junior Marines, was, yes, we don't physically own anything here in the Marine Corps, right? The government owns it all. But why not treat it like yours? Like and I've carried myself in that manner when working on cars, for people and stuff. Is like, okay, it's not my vehicle, but why not treat it like mine? And, just, so everything that I always do is that whole pride and ownership, type deal. And there's a lot to be said for that. When you can own something that you had to work and make money for, and then do the maintenance and do all that stuff, then you treat it a lot better most of the time. Now, there's a few exceptions, and I could name a few different people that I know personally that do not believe in that theory. And it shows, and they're always asking for a ride and, working on their stuff. But it's one of those that you gotta do it.
Yeah. I mean, we're not sure what their long-term plans are. They're young. It's up to them, and they got a roof over their heads right now, and we don't know. It's so I've never tried to limit my kids as to what they could or could not do. I wanted them to follow their dreams. This is our dream, and if Jake or Jenna or one of the other 7 want to do something here, then great, they have that option. So I don't know, but
it'll help them feel more, their own.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's our property, but I was just having this discussion of, I had a great uncle that passed away, and he had 80 acres or something, 60 or 80 acres, and and he's owned it for a long time. He bought it back in the 70s or whatever, and he owned that land the whole time. And so that could have been considered, family. It's family land. And so there was kind of a discussion with a lot of the older cousins of, we should all pitch in one way, shape, or form, try to buy this land to keep it in the family so we have some family land. But it's hard in today's society, the way families are so split up, to keep family land. And
it's a cool thing when it can happen, you know. But I guess circling back, we want to have this for future generations, but I hope I love the sound of rain on a tin roof. But going back to the whole shed house thing, we could not justify spending that much money
on something we could build for a third of the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's what did trigger that whole conversation was.
Squirrel.
Yeah, being able to build it. Now, granted, you've got to have the tools, you've got to have the knowledge, and the drive.
Semi-knowledge. We're not pros.
No, but you know, just having the ability to build something. It doesn't have to come out perfect either. You know, like I love the fact knowing that we built everything, even if it's imperfect. At least we built it. You know, and we're happy with it.
It is really coming down out there.
Yeah, it is. And so, yeah, it just, at the end of the day, it came down to we couldn't justify spending that money. And, you know,
convenience, yes.
Yeah, we've talked to the kids about that, and we wouldn't have ever done it on payments. That's kind of why it was such a big deal. Because we did the math on payments for one of those, and
it's like 500% interest rate.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
It is a big interest on it, but we're at a point now where
if we can't buy it with cash, we don't need it.
You know, that's our, you know, debt free means debt free. You're not, you know, oh well, this debt's okay or that debt's okay. No, we have no debts, and trying to keep it that way. Now that's the challenge, is still building and growing all of our infrastructure without getting any sort of a loan or credit card or anything.
And we've taken some big hits financially between the truck and the well, and you know, we saved for those rainy days, but you know, when you get more rainy days than as quick as you can save. But
I think in the kids situation where they're still young and they need, you know, the credit more, you know, than we necessarily do, because they don't have, you know, tons of money saved up. I mean, not that we have tons of it either, but we have enough for rainy day funds and emergencies, and that's what keeps us comfortable.
But it's making those decisions. Like yesterday, we worked our butts off all day long, and then after we were done milling, we did a thorough cleanse of the area. We were stacking lumber, we were hauling this, hauling that, carrying, lifting. You blew down the insides and outs of the whole mill, cleaned it up, and we were poopered, completely poopered. Well, I had put a brisket into the crock pot for supper earlier that morning, and because I knew it was going to be a long day and I didn't want to have to cook. Well, the brisket was not as tender as what we would like it to be. So I'm like, okay, well, plan B, I have to make something for supper, and we're just gonna let this cook for another 12 hours in the crock pot. And he's like, babe, why don't we just go to town and get something to eat? That way you don't have to cook. And would that have been easier? Absolutely, 100%. But no. What's, you know, you figure going out to eat one time in a decent restaurant, not fast food, you're looking at $50, $60, $70. I can't justify that. So even though I was exhausted, even though all I wanted to do was shower and go to bed, I made a full-on Italian dish, actually, and oh, it was so amazing.
Oh gosh, it was awesome. For a last-minute throw together, you know, you would have thought, hey, this was a fully planned out, like, hey, we're gonna, but that's just, I mean, honestly,
you make
guys,
those hard decisions sometimes.
It sounds like bragging a lot, and it probably is, and of course I'm gonna brag because my wife's amazing, and you know, for her to be able to throw something to, you know,
so good. It was
throw together, it was
like a pasta bake, but I used one of my last Italian sausages that I made myself. And of course, our own marinara. I made a homemade Alfredo with garlic and it's butter. Oh, it's so good. And then I mixed in the marinara and Italian sausage in with the spaghetti. Got that into a mix, and then I poured that into, casserole, and then I layered that Alfredo on top, and then melted some drizzled cheese over it, and then I made some homemade garlic bread with cheese. Oh, y'all! And then we used the extra Alfredo to dip the garlic bread. I mean, it took me about an hour, but in the grand scheme of things, it was much better. We used what we had, but it's consciously making those decisions on a daily basis, because when we first got together, one of my big things was you might not have a huge amount of bills, but you're nickel and diming yourself broke. Like, that's the main problem with a lot of young people, is they don't think about the $5 coffee. They don't think about every time you go into a gas station, you drop $10 on snacks and drinks. And it's not that they're spending like $500 on one payment, but at the end of the month, those little nickel and dimes, those will wreck your budget. And so I'm very cognitive, almost anxious, anxiety provoking over the nickel and diming. Like, I always know when I send Jake and Jason to the grocery or to go get fuel or whatever it is, I just know they're gonna go into that gas station, grab a candy bar and a soda pop or whatever, and I'll see the evidence in the truck next time I go to get in, and I'm like,
She's so judgy, y'all.
It's like they get out of my sight, and there's like, nickel dime, nickel dime, nickel
Well,
dime.
and you know, she talks about it as just a younger generation thing. It's not, y'all.
No.
Like, I did it up until we got together. Not even thinking about it, and everybody's situation is different, obviously, and we talked about this a little bit on the last Sergeant's Talk TV that Mike and I did. Was you see the younger generation coming in, right? And most of the time they've never even had a bank account. Like, I got my very first bank account when I was in the Marine Corps.
I was 15. I got my first checking account when I was 15.
Yeah, because I didn't need one until then. And, but now you get this money that comes in every month, and you're like, wait a minute, how, and then you find out about credit, but not necessarily in the right way. And so it was always imperative, as I got more senior in the Marine Corps, to teach those younger Marines, hey, don't go hog wild right away. Like, but they still do. I mean, it's just like raising your own children, is you try to prevent them from making mistakes that you made. And so you guide them in a different direction, but then you realize, as frustrating as it is as a parent to watch your children, whether they're, adults or not, making decisions totally opposite of what you suggested to them. And you're like, why would you do that? Like, I tried to tell you. But you look back at yourself, right? You learned those lessons, and how did you learn them? Most of the time it was from trial and error. You made those mistakes, and now you know. And it's just, I think, in our brains as natural human beings, the instinct to, I want to do it on my own. Well,
I think too that every person is different in how many of those lessons it takes to teach the lesson. For me, and it's so profound in my brain that it made such a huge impact the very first time, was, I secured my very first job like 2 or 3 weeks before I even turned 15 and was legal to get my work permit to work. I was hired at Ponderosa. I physically went in. The guy's like, well, come see me after you're 15. I'm like, no, I want to pursue this. And I just went every single day after school and was like, I would really like to get this set up. And so I was hired. He saw that drive in me, and so he hired me at 14 and said, the day you turn 15 and you get your worker's permit, you're on, you're good. And I did. And I was hired on as a waitress at Ponderosa, if y'all remember Ponderosa's. We had these ugly hunter green skirts and these bow tie. It was an awful thing, but we did it. Skirts, no pants. And my first night working, I made like $27 in tips, right? I was blown away. And the first thing I did when my stepmom came to pick me up was I asked her if we could go to the drugstore or whatever, because I loved this magazine called Sassy. I don't know if you all remember that. And I went in with my $27 and I bought Sassy, I bought several other different magazines. I blew it. I blew that $27. And I went through the magazines within an hour or two. And then I was like, I just wasted this money. I ate the food I bought, the junk food. I already read my magazines. I am out my $27 over Sassy magazine. Of course, it wasn't $27, but I blew it. I bought stuff. And it made such an impact. My very first day, I earned tips that I was not going to be wasteful, and I was not going to be, sure, you always go through life and you have those splurging moments, but I think it just takes some kids more lessons, it takes people more lessons. But you look at the debt-free lifestyle, it didn't happen overnight. It's compounding, and it takes years and years and years of planning. It took me 20 plus years of planning, but it's the nickel and diamond. So I guess moral of the story, don't pay 5 times the amount for a shed.
Yeah.
And don't buy Sassy magazine, which I don't even think they're a company anymore. And eat at home. Find a way to make a meal so you're not spending $50, $60. It's all those little small changes that really add up to a huge benefit in the end.
Yeah.
And people see what you have, and they see your life, and they think it's an instant thing, or they want it, or it didn't just happen on camera. It years and years and years of hard work, and so many people want things now. It's a now generation.
Well, yeah, and that's the way society is run now. Is it's instant gratification, and technology has allowed that. We get instant information now. You want to know something.
Messages, instant phone
right,
calls.
like everything happens now, and which the way the world works, you need an ability to react to something in a very immediate response. And but it's kind of that double-edged sword where more people are less likely to stick around with a company or an organization, or even if they started their own job and they're not making tons of money right up front, but they don't have the patience because they want now to build that business that might take 15, 20 years to, really get to a point where you can live very comfortable, or the lifestyle that you want to live, and it's all based on your individual preference.
It just dawned on me about something though. I mean, here we are, we're sitting here, we're preaching about saving and preaching about being impatient. And look at what we've done on the ridge in a year because we are impatient.
Yeah.
So we're the pot calling the kettle black, and we know that about some things.
But there's also,
that's hard work though.
Right. We've worked and we've built everything that is here, and the patience came, in the 3 years that we started looking at where we were going to move.
Yeah.
And even during that time, that's what was driving what type of land we wanted, because it was like, hey, we want to do this style of a home. We want these items, these animals, like we were already drawing pictures of what the homestead would look like. And in the land needed to fit that vision.
And it didn't completely fit it. We had a list, we had a punch list, of course, but we also had negatable and negotiable things. So we knew that it was going to be relatively not easy to find every single item on the ticket. And so we knew there were going to be some things to compromise, and we knew that we would love the land when we found it. It is so loud. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's where we're sitting at today, guys. Is I guess we're just gonna sit here and ponder what we can do, because I'm not going out in this.
Yeah, there's nothing bleeding or on fire at the moment that really needs to involve getting soaked. So
I just hope y'all can hear us, because it is loud. But all right, well, I think I'll go ahead and get this thrown together for you guys. Once again, thank you all for joining us.
yes, thank you. We appreciate you all so much, and the support and the comments, and just that interaction. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
For sure.
it's amazing, and you guys, we're enjoying our journey. But the fact that we get to share it with you, and you guys are just as excited about all of this as we are, which
It's cool.
yeah, like
fun.
it's a very refreshing feeling. So
It is.
we thank you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one, guys.